Hello and welcome to this review of Season 4, Episode 8. I'm Mark and I've got Randy, and Daniel was supposed to be here. I don't know where he ended up.
Aerial assault.
What's that? Yeah, is that what's happening?
Did it blow up too? I think there was a lot of explosions happening.
Blimps have a tendency to
They have a bad track record
it's
on
okay.
those.
Tragedy plus time is comedy, right now.
Oh, well, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Daniel, for joining us.
Yeah,
That's good.
yeah.
Yes.
Do we want to stick it behind something?
No, it's good.
Okay.
It's over there. We'll bring it back out maybe
Yeah.
and talk about it. This was the LEGO Masters Plus 2K Drive episode. So they're partnering with this, much hyped LEGO video game, racing game. And unfortunately, I don't think any of us have played the game, so we don't have any experience to talk about that. But, microtransactions and predatory marketing strategies aside, it is a pretty fun game to play. But, so this is, at least, it's another racing episode. They're racing around a track, they're building cars with limited pieces. It was a crazy challenge. I actually enjoyed some of the elements being thrown at the contestants here. What did you guys think overall?
I like that they couldn't use any extra pieces.
Yeah,
that made it way more challenging, and they really had to think
hard.
through it more. Yeah.
Exactly. If you had all the brick pit, 8 hours to build a car, that's actually not too bad.
Yeah.
But with what you have on the table, that's tough. Very tough, very quickly. What do you think, Daniel?
I agree. It's not like working with limited pieces that you have in your collection or on hand. I mean, it's more akin to doing like a Creator 3-in-1B model or like a rebrickable model or something where you're truly working with a very finite set of parts that was specifically for something else and trying to turn it into something new.
Exactly. That being able to adapt to the situation was really critical in this challenge. Some teams did great.
Yeah.
Some teams did less great. Well, we'll talk about all of them, and we may as well dive in. There was only 5 teams left.
Yeah.
Episode 8. We're getting down to the wire here. It's pretty exciting stuff. The first team that was announced in judging, and I was able to write down all their information, was Sam and Nina. They had the donut car and the crocodile boat crash together.
I love that part.
And then
The donut was very robust.
Right, yeah.
the donut did pretty well in the crash test. And then they ended up making the green machine. But what do you guys... Let's talk about the crash element too. You had to literally smash together the pieces, then you get to build the car out of what's left. How'd you guys feel about the little track thing, shooting things at the wall?
I'm with Will Arnett. I love it when the Lego crash
You like
together.
the crash? Yeah, cool. Good.
Yeah. Although I felt bad they had to pick up all their pieces.
Yeah, they
You saw
didn't
the
even give him
contestants
they didn't give him a broom or anything.
Yeah.
In the toolboxes.
Yeah, they did have a toolbox, which was kind of fun to carry back. This one, I think the crashing, it makes sense because you have to combine the pieces, but at the same time, I think this is like the least impressive or meaningful crashing. Like I mean, when he comes at it with a baseball bat, that's something. But this is kind of like it wasn't striking all cylinders for me. I don't know.
I liked it because it reminded me of like Mythbusters, where they would look for any excuse to strap something to a rocket sled and shoot it at a brick wall.
I get it.
But I thought it was fun because it was just a little high energy thing to start the episode, and it wasn't smashing the actual builds. The contestants had just finished building, destroying them for no reason.
Yeah. Somebody off camera behind the scenes was building those mocks though, because those weren't sets. Those are somebody made that red sports car and that blue hot rod and all those
A lot of
things.
them were very nice. I wouldn't be surprised if some of the like Legoland model builders or something did those. They looked pretty well done.
There's Legoland Discovery Center in Atlanta nearby where they would be filming this, so it could be connected to that somehow. I'll see if I can poke around and find out. But the Green Machine, I thought Sam and Nina did pretty well with their build. It was very strong. It had the solar panels in the back. Amy particularly, but Amy and Jamie both got on him, and I thought that was very unnecessary.
I don't know why.
Yeah.
Right? I was the same way. I thought it looked good. It's
It
on
was
point
fine,
for them,
yeah.
like for the style that they do. So I didn't mind it at all.
It fit their theme very well. The build technique was very nice given the limited parts that they had. I don't know why they were so against
strength, detail, great color usage.
I thought they had the little string pieces as the wires coming off of them. I don't know. I don't get what their beef was with that.
Yeah, I think Sam and Nina have such a great run at the beginning of the season. They're trying to kind of tamp them down. They're the new Lewis and Alex. You know what I'm saying? Like Lewis and Alex are always getting the hammer. Like, no, you can't do this one. This is their turn now to
get it.
Yeah, maybe so.
I don't know if there's any behind the scenes shenanigans happening there. But
Right.
I thought they got a little unfairly weighed in on there. But one team that really did phenomenal was Chris and Robert. They had the Christopher! And the blue hot rod plus the grave boat, the jet black grave boat.
That was actually really cool. It was very random, but I liked the grave boat thing. That was cool.
Well, I think the task for the smashable builds was to be predominantly one color. And they got assigned a color and then they built something off of that. Because you got black, blue, red, gray, yellow,
The smart
white.
teams were picking which builds they wanted based on the color scheme.
Yeah, or the volume of pieces they could use, which is really smart too. But I think that's what Chris and Robert were trying to do. However, they got to pick kind of middle of the pack. They weren't the end, but they definitely weren't the first few teams picking. So
They had one of the best color palettes.
They did.
That magenta was a really nice splash of color.
yeah, I don't know where the magenta came from because the blue hot rod was mostly blue. It was inside the hot rod or something.
There was like a stripe on the side that
Okay.
I think was that magenta, but it was like lots of wedge plates and cheese slopes it looked like, but I'm not sure.
Yeah. Anyway, their final car combination was the fantastic Flamin' Sharkatron.
It was great.
Yeah.
Oh, I loved it. Me and my son, we were like, that is so cool.
It looked the most like the video game
It did.
style.
It fit
Absolutely.
into it for sure.
It's a great vehicle. And they got the best on aesthetics, which means they got to be the first in pole position, which helped them a lot later. We'll talk about
Oh
that.
man, I had like PTSD back to that the go-kart episode where they said pole position like 50 times
Yeah.
in the course of 45 minutes, however long the episode is.
Yeah.
Every time they say it, I don't know. They just keep saying it and saying it.
This was minimal pole position mentioning
Yes.
for you.
Okay.
Yeah. This,
Instead, we had Christopher.
I think I like this episode better than the season 3 race car challenge because you didn't have to fit a person inside. They just made a cool build on a chassis that's already made, speeds up the process. It was pretty good. So, but the next team we'll talk about before we get into all the judging, we got a couple more to go through. Emily and Kelly, Banana Car, and the Pontoon Boat, which is mostly dark gray.
Right.
And they ended up making the Stinger, the vehicle, the off-road vehicle. And good idea, tough to execute with gray.
Yeah.
So what did you guys think?
Yeah. Gray was not the right color. They needed to get the black one, the graveyard boat,
Yes.
if they were trying to do a B.
They were looking for volume, which had gray.
Was this in order of
Judging.
choosing their vehicle? Oh, in order of judging.
They
Okay.
were pretty early, I think, weren't they?
I think
'Cause
they were.
I don't know why they wouldn't have picked a graveyard boat then.
Yeah.
I don't know. Either way, they had some trouble
I
with
think
their...
Sam and Nina went first, and then they went next, if
Okay.
I'm not mistaken. But I'd have to rewatch it and check.
Okay.
But yeah. So.
They had some trouble with their initial concept and then pivoting with what the judges told them about, like, it doesn't have to be a bee on wheels, just make it a car
With
that's
a fun
gotta
theme.
be, theme to it. So,
It's
it
a
could
mashup.
have just been, a sports car that had yellow and black stripes and a tail coming out the back and some wings on the sides.
Yeah.
I think they just ended up a little too boxy in this sort of strange middle territory between building a bee on wheels and building a car that looks like a bee, and it didn't really lean one way or the other.
They did get a finished build, but it definitely were struggling throughout the challenge. And the judges came over several times and were like, "You should try this and try to loosen up, lighten up.
Right.
It's gonna be fine." But yeah,
I feel like they got a lot of feedback from the judges, and I don't think it quite came through.
Absorbed,
Yeah.
yeah.
I got the Tesla truck vibe from it. You know that
Yeah.
concept?
Cybertruck.
The
Blocky.
Cybertruck. That's what I felt like.
Yeah.
I was like, where have I seen that before? That's what it kind of reminded
I
me
just
of.
saw a lot
With
of
wings.
studs.
Yeah.
A lot
How
of
many
studs.
hours
yeah.
was this challenge?
8 hours.
8 hours,
Okay, so it was a pretty short one, so it's harder to pivot.
Yeah.
I will say that looking at the chassis, they at least had all their studs aligned the same way, which was good. Or at least all the bricks were a stud apart. When me and Steven in our season it was a very different circumstances. We had 6 hours, slightly smaller chassis, but none of the pieces were aligned properly. So you're just kind of trying to bridge the gap between things that aren't lining up. This was at least, it seemed like a pretty straightforward process to build over it with the limited pieces. So, yeah. But I think, Emily and Kelly, they had some struggles.
Yeah.
The only team that seemed to do a little better was Paul and Nalita. They had the white sports car and the brown boat, two unusual color schemes
Yeah.
combo there. They had the Swamp Road vehicle, And they had like frogs, lime green, white, and brown. That's an unusual color.
They needed a little more lime green. There really, really wasn't quite enough.
Well, I'm sure if they could run over the brick bread, they would have solved that problem, but you're stuck with what you got.
Another thing with those two cars that they picked, the sports car and the boat were both very blocky and kind of square. It was a lot of basic brick. They didn't have a lot of specialty parts to work with, so as a result, their end build kind of ended up being this sort of chunky, it looked kind of like the Model T 4x4 off-roader thing. It was just kind of this big tall box on a tall suspension.
Maybe not Model T, but Model T. Anyway. Like a very upright, boxy Jeep-looking vehicle. Yeah. But it wasn't quite working for me. What do you think, Randy?
I didn't mind the truck so much because it felt, when they were talking about being in a swamp, but their details just didn't hit for me.
A little tacked on.
But I know they were very limited in what they have. But I was I don't know. The green didn't feel like a real purpose. Like it was just slapped on because they needed to have some color on there. Yeah, that's all they had. So
tough building process for them. But we can talk about the race in a second. We'll talk about the last build. But Lewis and Alex had the red sports car and the submarine. So that was a fun little...
The sub-sandwich.
The boat, exactly. And they made a croqueta mover. I'm not mistaken in the name, but it's basically, it's an ethnic food. I don't know.
It's Cuban,
Cuban, because we were talking, is it French or Cuban?
Deep fried.
I think it's Cuban,
Cuban. Yeah. And so they were basing it off of that food. I'm guessing they were very hungry as they were building this.
Yeah, maybe. Seems like a couple people were.
What did you guys think of their end result? I know it ended up being top heavy.
Yeah.
It did. They had a lot of red to work with from the sports car, but since they picked last, I think a lot of people were avoiding that sub sandwich because it was so much just dark tan.
Yeah,
basic
just a big
brick,
blob.
And it's dark tan is not an easy color to work with, especially when Amy is the one judging.
That's all you have to build with. You have to use it.
Yeah, I think the concept that they went, which was another food item, just didn't distance themselves enough from their original concept, which is where the judges kind of took issue with it.
Yeah, it didn't come together. The judges did mention several times it's going to be top heavy, and they're like, "Oh, we'll just have to miss all the obstacles." Because I think they were too far along to really pivot that drastically in their game plan. But it ended up not working on the race. We might as well start talking about that briefly. They, like we said, Chris and Robert got the aesthetics and therefore got pole position. Daniel. But after that, it was just kind of how well could they do in the race? I think that factored into the judging quite a bit too. And they struggled. They were like falling over every single turn.
Did they make it more than 2 laps? I don't know if they made it.
At a certain point, you just forget the other people
they were
below.
showing the top 3.
But Chris and Robert, they really took advantage of their first place spot because they started racing around the track. Chris was driving like a madman.
He had that controller down.
Well, they got 1 lap on everybody. They lapped everybody, and then they started playing defense. They knew they could get away with it.
They started ramming into people and having fun. And then Christopher! Emily.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
Yeah, Emily and Kelly. Emily was freaking out because her car's being run off the road. I would probably say something too. What do you guys think about that drama with the villain arc of Chris going full?
I loved it. I thought it was hilarious.
Super villain,
I actually thought it was funnier when they were doing the bit where she was taking Will's job, doing
Yeah.
Will's interviews and stuff.
The shenanigans
She's
were
like
entertaining.
standing there,
Yeah.
just like keeps moving around. It's like, that's great. That's really lame. All right, I'm gonna go.
This lame guy's bye. Yeah.
She may need her own
That
show
made-
at
that
some
made me
point.
laugh. That was
I
good.
feel like she could do it.
She was playing along
She's
with
funny.
Will because Will was kind of continuing to say, "Oh, you want my job? Oh, it's funny because you're so talkative." And then she just kind of played it on him, so that was good for her.
Yep.
But,
She's hilarious.
Oh man! But one other team that did very well driving was Paul and Alita. Their build
she
had
was
some
doing so
struggles,
good.
but
She's experienced.
Yeah.
She's they kept talking about how she was a driving
The
instructor.
instructor.
and she's also like I would say Paul and Alita are a team that Paul seems to be very introverted and quiet and matter of fact, but then Alita is very outgoing and she's a go-getter.
She was the right choice for that.
And so she is driving and she's not holding back, and they were pretty much not right behind Chris, but keeping up. They were competitive.
Yeah.
So that's really good to see. And then,
Except the the croquetta kept falling over in front of her and blocking it.
It ended up costing her the race.
Yeah. It did, yeah.
That unintentionally, I'm sure. Alex Lewis's build was just collapsed underneath the bridge, and they were stuck. So.
Just blocked everybody. Yeah.
Sam and Nina got
I don't
third.
think anybody drove over the bridge. I don't know if that path was...
Christopher did.
Chris and Robert did.
The last lap, he went over the bridge.
They went.
I must have missed that.
Yeah.
I think
it seemed like everybody was going under when the log jam happened.
Yeah. I'm guessing that was slightly easier to navigate than the bridge, which has like the structure over it. So.
Yeah.
But third place, Sam and Nina, they seemed to do okay, kind of middle of the road. And then obviously Emily and Kelly had trouble with their car, and Christopher.
She drove really slow. She was being very careful, but it was going really slow.
Like we said, Alex and Lewis, I don't think they got even more than a couple laps in of 6. So.
It just toppled every single thing just toppled over.
And I think it was like there was no way Chris and Robert couldn't have won the entire challenge because they like the judges like their very dynamic, aggressive vehicle the most, and they also won the race with a ferocious finale. So it was
they didn't even do a top 2. I mean, Jamie was like, it's clear.
It's pretty obvious. And then, unfortunately, I think it was Emily and Kelly and Lewis and Alex were in the bottom, and Lewis and Alex were sent home, which is... This one hurts, guys. I've been sad for every team that's gone home, but this one was really personal. Lewis is a good friend of mine, and they're both really nice guys. I've only met Lewis in person, but super nice guy. And you can tell he's kind of got that, not parent vibe, but like at least teacher. He's taking care of everybody. He's looking out for all the other teammates, and that kind of, you can see that in their closing remarks. He's like, and these 22 other people that are forever family. So that kind of vibe from Lewis is really like,
what'd you guys think? Them. I really like them. That was a rough one.
I think it makes sense, though.
Yeah,
I think that's the right call.
They didn't. The top heaviness they were warned about, and every time a judge gives you feedback like that, you gotta take it into. And I go, it was just, and it did look a lot like the submarine. Yeah. So in that part, I had to agree, but I was rooting for them. I like them.
Exactly.
I see why, but I don't think I agree with this one. I think this one should have gone the other way. But I think what it came down to was if they were just judging it based on aesthetics, I think Alex and Lewis would have come out on top, and Emily and Kelly were slightly lower in that method of judging. But it was the performance in the race, which is why I guess set it over for the judges. But
I don't know if that's 40-50 or 50-50 how they're judging that.
We don't know what the balance was, if it even was quantifiable for that, or if it was just subjective. But I don't know. I think in terms of, because sometimes they just judge it based on who they think should continue in the competition, and I think overall Lewis and Alex have been better
more competitive,
have been better builders, and would have deserved to go on.
I would have thought Lewis and Alex would have gotten a little bit further in the competition, but this was a really tough episode for them, and they unfortunately went home. So, but Chris and Robert, congrats to them again. Another great win. They came off the handbag victory, and now they're doing this one. So, good for them.
I hope in the video game the shark can bite the car in front of him.
Oh, definitely.
Oh,
the fact that Chris was basically almost sobbing.
Right? Yeah. Oh, did we mention that the win is going to have their car in the video game?
So as part of the mini reward, the winning vehicle will eventually be put in the 2K Drive game, probably to be purchased. Yeah. And so Chris was like, that was super meaningful to him, because I know he goes very deep into the lore of all the video games. That's his thing, right? Yeah. And so he was so excited about it. Really good to see. So,
I feel this. I mean, I've been playing every Lego game since, the early Indiana Jones, the Star Wars,
Lego Island,
the Caribbean. So that's awesome to see for him.
Good to see, yeah. So coming up next week, we have roller coasters. And this is... there are sets to the roller coasters, but they're taking it to a whole new level. This is very big builds already being shown, double loop-de-loops. And it seemed like a couple teams are struggling, a couple teams are really succeeding. What do you guys think about this upcoming episode?
This could be fun. I'm excited for it.
Yeah. I think some of the teams are going to struggle with learning this as just a different building system, and I think some teams are going to struggle with being a little overly ambitious in terms of things they can incorporate into it. But what I'm interested to see is going to be how much of this build is just going to be the track versus if they have to incorporate other story building elements. Like, is it like a whole theme park? Are there paths and a line and a queue and little scenes and other things to build? Because if you're just building a roller coaster, it doesn't seem like it should take that long. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it does.
If it was just the function of the track, then that would be pretty simple. There's got to be some other element,
There's got to
right?
be something else to this, I would have to think, than just designing a cool roller coaster.
Yeah. Well, looking forward to it. It's very exciting to see, and I think I'm worried about a couple teams going into the episode if they're already in the bottom two a couple times. You're not doing well. Emily and Kelly. Fingers crossed for you guys. We'll see how it goes. So.
And we're down to 4 teams now. So if somebody goes home on this episode, that will be our final 3.
Yeah.
Who will be going into the finale.
Yeah, exactly. It could be that no one goes home this episode and they extend it out a few more.
Could be
or
one more episode where nobody goes home, maybe to offset the thing with Ben and Puppy. I'm not quite sure how they'll.
Yeah, there might be another break where no one goes home. You never know. So
is it next Thursday with it being Thanksgiving?
Ew.
I didn't look to see if it said this week or next week.
We'd have to double check the airing date for that.
I don't remember seeing anything saying it wasn't, but
I remember last year they actually did it on a Friday or something like that too. They changed up the day a little bit.
So make sure you check your timing.
Yeah.
Your local station. Yeah.
You might be watching, football or The Last Singer or something.
Nobody wants that.
Something goofy like that. Some other Fox show.
Yeah.
Anyway.
God forbid Domino Masters.
Is
that show even still running?
I think they only got the one season. Yeah, so I think we're
crazy.
We're safe from more Domino Masters. Before we go, though, let's talk about that blimp.
Oh, yes.
It was barely shown in the episode, unfortunately, but it was actually pretty visible on the preview leading up to it. So this is something that was on the show. We got our hands on it. Somebody traded it in.
Yeah.
And it's pretty cool.
Lego official. It's got the registered
very
trademark.
cool.
Yep. And this is actually.
You could park this on the Empire State Building.
It looked great in a Lego City, actually.
It really would.
Yeah.
But this is
on from a ceiling, maybe if you were like a Lego collector that liked stringing things up from their ceiling.
Exactly. Had stuff all over. Yeah. No. So this is actually going to be on display over you guys' workspace,
That's
Daniel
right.
and Randy. Yeah. So if you want to see it, schedule a tour on our website. We are setting that up right now, so you can have a tour of the store when you arrive. It'll be I think it's free, and you get an actual little gift with it if you sign up for it. So look forward to that, and look forward to more videos here at Atlanta Brico. We appreciate you guys. Thank you guys for your thoughts. Thank you guys for watching.
Hit the like button.
Yeah, like, comment, and subscribe. We appreciate it. All right, bye-bye.